Hello everybody, my name is Sean and I'm a 20-year smoker no more thanks to eCigs, or vapor as it's called these days. Very quickly there, before we talk about the eGo 1, I want to let you know this video and future videos, I'm going to always talk about the product, the pros and cons like I always have, but then afterwards I'm going to just roll into how the unit goes together and how it works itself, and then we're going to finish off with troubleshooting if there is any troubleshooting known about the unit itself. For those of you who've been with me a long time, thank you very much, and of course, as you might know, we're working on that website there. It is going to be updated and working on that as quickly as I can. Wanted to get this one available for you right now and right here because this is a pretty important unit. I like to call certain units game changers, and in my opinion this is one. For those of you who are familiar with Joyetech, like myself, a lot of us back in 2009 fell in love with the 510. It had a lot of pros and it had a lot of cons, and some of us, including me, I've been using that 510, at least the top end of it, for pretty much 5 years now. There was just always something missing from other e-cigs where they were just a little light on the flavor, and you know, every 6 months I kept on seeing something getting closer and closer and closer to it. Now I do believe that I actually have that unit. It's called the eGo 1. This particular unit here is by Joyetech, and let's get into the product itself. Here we have it in the box, so let me open that on up there for you. So here we have this unit here. Now the eGo 1 is what's called a sub-ohm unit, or of course a cloud chaser. Up until just a few months ago here, this type of a unit was really out of the normal consumer's hands because you had to be kind of a modder or a pro, as it's called, to build one yourself. There was a lot of safety issues with those older units and things that you really had to know about. Here we finally have something that has all the safety cutoffs and everything else that we want to see, with the enjoyment of what's kind of called that sub-ohm or that cloud chaser. What that is that is a lot more vapor, a lot fuller flavor, because it actually burns or converts the liquid into a vapor at a different temperature there, and that's why you see all of this nicer flavor and of course the more vapor output, and I do know a lot of people do like that. This particular unit right here, this is their standard version, so you have an 1100 mAh battery. On the top end that you're looking at here, it's usually a 1.8, that's just slightly smaller. This one here is a 2.5 milliliter. I personally have found that 2.5 is the way to go. 1.8 milliliter, you're really checking on the liquid way too often. Now, this particular unit here is also a USB PTC model. What that means is you can plug it in and charge it while you're using it, and that's very useful whenever you're using an eCig, which many of you know. This particular unit also has what's called airflow control. You do have your airflow ports here, and you just alter the steel piece back and forth, and that lets you dictate how heavy your pull is or how loose your pull is. That is of course another very nice innovation that you're looking at these. Now this particular unit, like I said, it really packs a punch, but one of the other very nice things about it is its size. What I'm going to do very quickly here is grab a eGo 650 battery. If you've been using eCigs for a long time, you're very familiar with this battery. Now I'm going to hold this unit next to this battery, and you can literally see how small this unit is. But boy, it does pack a punch. So on this unit, the pros that we're looking at, of course, the vapor output and the flavor. That's something that's very, very important to a lot of eCig vapor users. Now the cons on this unit, there aren't many of them, but there are two that I would like to identify. Actually, we could actually go into three on this one. The first thing that I personally find a con with this unit is you're going to notice that these are your windows, and these windows here is how you view to make sure that you haven't run low or out of e-liquid, because as we all know, if you run out of e-liquid on one of these units, very quickly you're going to burn out that atomizer heating element that you have in there. One good puff will actually do that. So that is one of the cons. You really kind of have to keep an eye on your liquid, and you have to look a little bit closer than you normally would. Again, that's not really a big deal. Your other thing is this is 1100 mAh battery. Now, for those of you who've been using eCigs for a while, you know 650, some of the different units there, and you know, okay, if I have two different 650 batteries or whatever it might be per day for your habit. On this, keep in mind, even though we have an 1100 battery, that heating element there, it's really going to be pulling a lot more power. So you can find that the battery, even though this is listed as a 1100, is kind of in the same range as using like more of a 650 or 900 battery. So that is something to kind of mention. That third one that I was going to say too is it's very important on these units that you pre-prime properly every single time you have a new heating element or coil. If you don't do that, you're going to have a dry burn. It's going to ruin the brand new heating element, the atomizer that you have there. It's also going to give you a very harsh burnt taste in the back of your throat. So you really need to take your time every time you're putting a new heating element into this unit to properly prime it. And I'm going to show that in this video just so everybody knows. So those are really just the cons that you have of that. Like I said, not many when you're looking at all the pros for this particular unit. What else comes in the box? It's pretty simple here. You have the wall charger to USB, your USB line itself, and we can't forget about this little package that we have right here. Within this little package, there's two things. You have a atomizer heating element. I'm pretty much just going to start calling it atomizer in the rest of this video. We also have a glass drip tip. That's also a mouthpiece, but they were first originally called drip tips, and here in the industry we've kind of stuck with that. Now on this drip tip, you'll notice that it is glass, and there's a little trick to it. It's actually thermo heat shield glass, so that is another big important thing that we have. This unit here allows you to run what's called a 0.5 ohm atomizer or a 1.0 ohm atomizer. That does make a big difference in how the vapor feels, and of course how the flavor itself is. So those are things that are big differences. This is a huge deal on this unit that we're seeing here, and this is something that you really need to pay attention to. It matters greatly what nicotine level you're using depending on the different coil heating element atomizer that you have there. Why? Because as you keep going lower in that number, like I said, we have a 1.0, now we have a 0.5. As you go lower, it's going to, of course, convert at a higher temperature. At that higher temperature, things like nicotine, you're going to get a better absorption rate on that. So on the unit as it comes in the box, it actually has a 1.0 in there. You're pretty safe sticking with your nicotine, but just be very aware as far as your nicotine level that you do enjoy. I personally started this at 12 milligram. I'm normally 24 milligram, and then I kind of quickly went up. Now, when we're talking about the 0.5 coil, I am highly recommending you start at, let's say, 3 milligram or 6 milligram. That's right, everybody, that low of a number that you're actually looking at. Please do not attempt 24 milligram, and in my opinion, even a 12 milligram. It can give you an upset stomach and give you some difficulties, which of course is getting too much nicotine in your body. So when you use, if you decide to use a 0.5 coil and you're going to use it, you're going to want to make sure to start in, like I said, that 3 milligram level or 6 milligram level, and then move it up from there as you seem fit in your personal habit. But please do not push it as far as these coils go. This is a big deal that we're looking at on this particular unit. So the first thing that we're actually going to, before I do that, let me just mention, of course, we have the Joyetech warranty authenticity card. That's always important. And we have a instruction manual. Yeah, it doesn't really go in depth there, and hopefully I'm going to explain everything right now, right here to you. All right, so on this unit, it does have the 5-click on and off with the button. You have to rapidly push it, usually within 1.5 seconds, and it's going to turn the unit on or it's going to turn the unit off. Now, this particular unit does have what's a 15-second cutoff. What that is if you inhale for longer than 15 seconds, the unit will cut off. That's because it might think, well, usually the reason they have it in there is if it's going off in your pocket. That's why they have the 15-second cutoff, because most people definitely don't inhale for 15 full seconds. The other thing to notice on this unit here is a short circuit protection. That is another internal item that you do have on this. And we also have a battery display function there. on this, I'm going to click it the 5 times, and you may or may not be able to see in the video the actual light. It's a very dim white light, which is kind of nice. Now, when you press this, when you have a full white light there, that means you're pretty much at 100% of your voltage on board your storage, your battery storage that you're looking at. At 60%, it's going to slowly flash. You're going to see a very slow flash, and then of course, you know, right in that 30% and below, it's going to flash a little bit quicker. When it's 10% or below, it's going to be flashing rapidly. So that is kind of a nice thing to know where your actual battery life is on this unit. Alrighty, let's open this puppy up here. What I just did is I unscrewed the battery and the atomizer housing that we have here. I'm going to flip it upside down. I'm going to unscrew it. That reveals the heating element that we have on this unit here. The heating element, to remove it, you just turn it counterclockwise, and to tighten it up, you're going to turn it clockwise. So counterclockwise, I'm now going to unscrew this, and that is the heating element, the coil atomizer. There's so many names for these things these days. Technically, Joyetech calls this an atomizer. Let me put this guy back on in here. There we go. We've got that in there. Now on this, we're actually going to be filling the liquid inside, but on the outer ring. You're going to notice on this that you have a smaller ring that's in the middle. That is actually your air tube. You don't want to get liquid in there, so you want to fill it around. We're going to get into right now how to properly prime this unit, so kind of pay attention on this one. Like I said, you have the coil heating element, and this is where we're going to start as far as the liquid filling goes there. So let me get a bottle of e-liquid here for us. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this very close to the camera. You're going to notice on the inside of this atomizer, you have the small kind of pinhole in there. And then if you look very, very closely, you're going to notice kind of a mesh. And we're talking about this inside that we're looking at right here. We want to saturate that with liquid, but not too quickly and not too much. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to dab and turn very slowly. So this is pretty easy to do. I'm just going to put a little dab there. I'm going to put another dab on in there, and that is going to saturate that. What the key is make sure that the absorption of the wicking and the kind of cotton filling that you have that's within here is absorbed. If you just put this together, you fill it with liquid, put it together, it hasn't had time to absorb it. So you're probably going to damage your coil up to 50%, if not damage it completely where it's unusable. And that's pretty common on almost all eCig units that are kind of this tank system now. You definitely want to pre-prime. All of them have their own different protocols for the pre-priming. Now, on this guy here, like I said, it's very easy to do. I'm just going to go off to the side. I'm going to fill it up. And I've actually filled this with the liquid itself. Now I'm going to put this right on top. Screw that clockwise. Bring it around. I'm now going to close the air holes. So if you'll notice there, that's with it open, that's with it closed. Why am I doing this closed? I'm trying to create a negative suction. However, I'm not trying to over inhale and create too much of a suction. If I do that, I might get a little bit of liquid on my lips. So it's a little bit of a trick. It's pretty easy to do. I'm just going to do a quick pull and let go. And as you notice, I didn't really do that too hard. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to remove that air and we're trying to replace it with liquid. After that, I suggest that you just leave it in the upright position just for a few minutes. If you do have the time, go with 5 minutes, okay? So 5 minutes. Now, this protocol we just saw, you only have to do this when it's a brand new coil. Brand new coil, or if you left it empty, let's say for a week or so, you know, kind of like it dried out, then you're going to want to pre-prime. But as a norm, you don't have to. Now, every time you refill one of these, you always want to make sure that your coil is tight. In these units that we see here, it is very common that when you unscrew this this atomizer housing, you're going to notice that the atomizer is just sitting right there. And you're like, hey, what happened? Well, the reason for that, let me grab this other unit that we have here and show this to you. That is because you're going to notice that there's a little gription that is around the atomizer that we have here, when you unscrew, that grip shin tends to contact there, and it opens, causing you to put this back into its correct position every single time. You may think that's annoying, but I'm here to tell you, I can't tell you how many people would not know to check their coil, how tight it is, and they don't realize that under the expansion of the heat and the exchange from the liquid into vapor time and time again, it's very common to have your coil go loose. If your coil goes loose, you're going to get a ton of liquid onto your lips and such, and that's something that you definitely don't want to have happen there for you. So that is one thing to kind of notice, and that's kind of technically a troubleshooting. You know what we'll do very quickly here, everybody, before I put this together? We'll go through the excuse me, the other troubleshooting portion that I was going to talk to you about. Realistically, with this unit so far, although it is very, very new, so we don't have a lot of troubleshooting issues that we've seen with this, which is pretty fortunate. And another thing is, for those of you who've been using Joyetech for many years, you know that when it comes out of the box, it's pretty high on the rating that it's going to work well, and it's going to work the first time, which is very nice. Realistically, the only thing that I can bring up that would be troubleshooting for this unit is, boy, you got to keep an eye on your liquid. If you don't keep an eye on your liquid, you do one good inhale, you're going to get a burnt, harsh taste. Now on these units, because everything's heavy duty, just like that burnt, harsh taste, if you've been using e-cigs before, you kind of notice that. On this, just as it's giving you better vapor and it's giving you better liquid flavoring, guess what? It's going to give you a much better of a burnt, harsh taste, which that isn't necessarily better, is it, everybody? All right, well, at this point, we pretty much covered everything on the eGo unit that we have, the eGo one. The last thing that I do want to show everybody there is this does come in two different sizes, okay, folks? If you're kind of concerned, you've been listening to me as far as battery life goes, you can get to 2200. I just want to quickly show it to you here in this video so you get a side-by-side real-time view of what the two units look like side by side. As you can see, you know, just adding that extra inch or so really makes the unit quite more long. So that's something that some people may enjoy or may not. It really kind of depends. This is it fully in my hand, and here of course we have the eGo one. The eGo one is just so lovely and small. So on this unit here, we already know that we have the battery on. I'm going to open up that air chamber now, and let's give her a whirl, huh? And that was just a little bit of a puff. I didn't want to really push it too far because, as we all know, I just filled this guy up. That was a very first inhale that you have. Of course, just like all other atomizers, you're going to wait a couple of inhales before that flavor is really going to break on in there for you, and you're going to get that full flavoring. But other than that, this is the eGo one. This unit here is perfect, of course, for lower nicotine levels, and that is if you're using that 0.5 coil. Just so everybody knows, please be aware. Use lower nicotine on this that you have here. But of course you have the Cloud Chaser liquid. That's going to give you even more vapor, and it kind of mellows the flavor a little bit, but people do enjoy that. And that's it for now, everybody. I look forward to doing more videos with everybody, and I'll talk to you soon. Of course, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. Thank you very much, and I'll talk to you later. I know I just said see you later with everybody, but I didn't think it was very fair, that one first inhale that I did on the eGo one unit. So I'm going to do one more inhale for everybody so you know how well that this actual unit works. As you can see, it works very, very well for its size. Like I said, everybody, it's a powerhouse. All right, see you later. Take care.